Camera crew followed Kody that day too. He rushed home to Robyn. He needed to check in on, I don't know, the kids, her feelings about my labor.
Yeah, and then I have to be pretty frustrated to throw an insult. But I can do it. Anyway,
The screen fades in over a peaceful home tape. Kids at play, laughter ringing out in the distance. Janelle smiles kindly as she stands at the kitchen counter. Logan assists a younger sibling with tying their shoe. For years, he was the ideal son, dependable, placid, and the peacemaker when things got crazy. Logan Brown, the golden boy of the sister wives family. But out of the sight of the cameras, something more sinister brewed. A storm had been building inside him, one that would later burst, ripping asunder the facade of harmony the Browns had carefully built and marketed to audiences nationwide. Black screen. Red text materializes. Why did Logan go without even saying goodbye? The screen flashes to a slow zoom in on Kody in the middle of a confessional, his face twisted in rage. This wasn't a tale of favoritism. It was a story of betrayal, of complicity, and of an ultimatum delivered behind the closed doors of a broken home. What actually drove Logan away from his dad and from the show that made them a household name? A flashbulb montage unfolds. Logan as a kid, embracing relatives, making dinner, studying for school with siblings, then silence and neat vanishing act. He was one of 18 firstborns, but when Kody Brown opted for celebrity and television over his oldest son, Logan had only two choices: perform or fade away. He opted for the latter, for freedom. Since the day Logan Brown was born, he was given a part he had never requested: the family pillar, as the firstborn of Kody and Janelle. Logan was raised under a burden few could perceive, burdens of responsibility, expectation, and unspoken sacrifice. While cameras portrayed him as a level-headed, overachieving son, he truth painted a much darker picture. Logan was never simply another Brown child. He was the dad figure when Kody stormed out in fits, the night shift parent when Janelle worked, the glue that held the siblings together when the adults pretended spiritual harmony on national TV. But Logan's secret pain wasn't captured in the shiny confessionals or coercive family photos. It was present in the time no one paid attention to, forgotten birthdays, lukewarm smiles, and the quiet that resounded where a shriek would have dwelled. Then Robyn arrived, and everything changed. Kody's focus, quick and raw, started raining down on Robyn's kids, particularly Dayton. Logan remained silent at first. Logan and Dayton were like brothers, friends. But something more started to rot. This wasn't love from Kody. It was Kody redirecting it. Logan witnessed it all. The favoritism, the pretend family cohesion, the increasing emotional detachment from Kody year after year. But it wasn't what audiences could perceive that broke him. It was what they were never supposed to. The actual breaking point? Kody's constant insistence on pursuing Dayton adoption. This wasn't about family, it was about image. Kody needed to be portrayed as the on-camera savior. And in order to sell that, he insisted that all his adult kids publicly endorse the adoption. When Logan, following his conscience and silent sorrow, objected, Kody didn't answer with words, he answered with threats. Behind the scenes, Logan was given a chilling ultimatum: endorse the adoption on air or be cut off from the family entirely. Logan chose the exit, calmly, quietly, and breakdown. Not best. He leaned into Janelle and whispered, "I'm done performing." And just like that, the golden boy disappeared. The show quickly brushed it off, claiming Logan was too busy with school or focused on his private life. But insiders knew the truth. Court records later showed Logan's refusal stalled the adoption process for months. Friction Kody would never forget or forgive. In retribution, Kody began rewriting the story. He painted Logan as rude, detached, disloyal. Robyn followed suit, carefully reshaping the narrative so that Logan became the villain to his younger siblings. But Logan wasn't rebelling. He was surviving. Years went by. Logan constructed a peaceful life in Nevada. No TLC, no drama, no Kody. But peaceful does not always equate to tranquil, particularly when that peacefulness is violently disrupted on a freezing December evening. Robyn materialized unannounced at Janelle's doorstep, Dayton and Aurora in tow, her voice cloyingly saccharine, her eyes glassy with crocodile tears. "I just want closure," she stated. "Dayton deserves that." What ensued was a showdown years in the making. Robyn confronted Logan with abandonment. Dayton appeared devastated. She demanded answers. Logan, equanimous and livid, provided one, a truth that cut through all the scripted deceptions. "You are demanding a performance." "I demanded the truth." Kody didn't lose a son. He cast one away. The room was silent. Janelle was the first to speak. She turned to Robyn and said, "You didn't come here for closure. You came to rewrite history." But this house? This is where the truth lives. And Logan, he was finally free. That night, Robyn's masterfully created illusion fell apart. But what came next was something that shook the very foundation of Kody's painstakingly created empire. Dayton had written to Logan in private with honesty, and Logan had replied. In a subdued Las Vegas coffee shop, away from the flash of cameras, orchestrated theatrics, and Kody's fixation on appearances, the two boys, brothers in suffering, not kinship, spoke candidly. They discussed deception, manipulation, and what it was to love someone who would never really see you. You didn't care, Dayton confessed, his voice shaking that I couldn't breathe. Logan said IT was a truth Kody had long tried to silence. But now it was surfacing, and once Kody found out, he erupted. You've turned Dayton against me. He screamed at Robyn. Logan poisoned him, but for the first time, Robyn didn't defend Kody. She simply breathed. He didn't poison him. He was honest. Then, when Kody stormed to Janelle's door in a rage, he was met with something he couldn't simply yell away. Hunter moved forward, standing between his father and his mother. You don't get to redo the past anymore, he told him. You disciplined Logan for establishing limits. Now we recognize it for what it was, control. Kody, quiet for the first time in years, retreated. Then came the coup de grace, a subtle email from Dayton to Logan. I see now. Can we discuss? And they did. Brothers. No movie camera, no script, only hard, slow mending. Logan did not need a TLC return. He did not need Kody's approval. What he clutched was more powerful. The truth. Because at times, the most courageous action isn't a showdown, it's a walkaway. And by walking away from just that, Logan Brown became the most liberated man the Brown family had ever met. The burden that hung around Logan Brown weighed more than ever. At the helm of his old Ford SUV, under a light Flagstaff sky where the sun struggled to get through, Logan clenched the steering wheel. This wasn't any drive. This was the last one. The silent exit from a world that never really noticed him through the rearview mirror. The great Brown family house dwindled into the distance. No sobbing goodbyes. No tight hugs. A cold wall of muteness and simmering resentment. I in that house earlier. Robyn had cried as she attempted to hold him back. Near begging, she had whispered, "You don't have to go like this." Logan had not even looked back. Her tears had long since lost their power over him. Kody stood at her side, arms crossed, jaws clenched. Logan's independence, his refusal to yield, was always interpreted as rebellion. A slight, but Logan didn't despise his father. He felt sorry for him. He felt sorry for a man who could only recognize love if it were wrapped in submission. A man who had mistaken control with love. Logan had walked through the empty room earlier in the day, surrounded by the remnants of bygone memories. The bunk beds he shared with his brothers had disappeared. The shelves that once held Legos and trophies were bare today. All that were left behind were emotional wreckage. Thousands of arguments, endless disappointments, and the unavoidable reality that this house had never been home. Outside, the wind was howling. As Logan took the final boxes out to put in the car, a strong gust blew over a potted plant sitting on the porch. The ceramic pot broke on the concrete. Logan winced. But somehow, it seemed symbolic. Something had broken. And it wouldn't be fixed. Inside, Aurora peered from a second-story window. Her breath misted the glass as she looked down. She had pleaded with Logan to spend the night with her. Wrote him a letter she never dared to deliver. It now lay crumpled in a drawer, creased and secreted, like so much else in the Brown household. Sitting behind the wheel again, Logan took a deep breath. He flipped on the radio, attempting to drown his mind. But each song seemed wrong. Too gentle, too familiar, too personal. He flipped it off. The quiet was more preferable. As the SUV crested the hill at the end of the neighborhood, Logan took his foot off the gas. He glanced over once. Not at the house, minimum, but at the life he was abandoning, his siblings. His shattered childhood. The complicated network of loyalty and confusion that had bound them all together. This was not an escape. IT was a decision. For the first time, Logan was choosing himself. But beneath the surface, another storm was brewing. Because what Logan did not yet know, what nobody knew, was that his leaving would trigger more than a private reckoning. IT would dig up secrets long buried, trigger fiery confrontations, and fuel a simmering civil war within the Brown household that could no longer be contained. Once Logan's SUV had vanished from view, oppressive silence filled the air. Within the Brown family home, something explosive had been disturbed. Robyn paced the living room, mascara still smeared from tears shed only hours before, her phone shaking in her hand. She couldn't help herself from repeatedly checking, hoping, praying for a message from Logan, anything, something. But the screen on her phone stayed dark. Logan was gone. Really gone this time. Kody slammed the front door so hard it made Aurora flinch upstairs. His face twisted with rage barely held back. He stormed into the kitchen, muttering under his breath, "Ungrateful." "After everything I've done," he grabbed a glass, filled it with water, then launched it into the sink. The glass didn't break, but the tension in the house did. Robyn moved towards him hesitantly. "He's your son," she reminded him softly. Kody whirled around on his heel, "And he just turned his back on me like I wasn't anything." "That's because you treated him like nothing," a voice replied from the stairs. It was Aurora. Everyone stood frozen, the quiet, emotionally reserved girl who usually walked on eggshells. Around family drama had suddenly ignited a spark in a powder keg. Her eyes flared. "He left because you always prefer control to love. Is all you ever do." Robyn moved forward, begging, "Sweetheart, please, no," snapped Aurora, tears breaking. "You don't get to cry now. You saw him leave. You let him go." Her words echoed across the house like thunder after lightning. Dayton sat silently behind the locked door upstairs. His hands shook as he gazed at his phone. A new message had appeared in the sibling group chat. "I'm gone. Don't come looking. Don't act surprised." Logan Dayton's throat constricted. He knew what it was like to be invisible in that home. He had experienced it too. Robyn sank onto the couch downstairs, hiding her face in her hands. But the tears that ensued weren't just for sorrow. They had a mixture of fear. Logan hadn't stolen just clothes and memories. He had stolen something much more lethal. Something Kody and Robyn had hidden for years. A secret. Something they never expected would be exposed. Point one, that, if she were to reveal it, might shatter what little remained of the Brown family's already tenuous reputation. And Logan? Logan had plenty of motive to tell. Within the walls of the Brown house, the silence that followed Logan's leaving was an emptiness. It was ringing. The slam of that door wasn't just a departure. It cracked something within the walls of that house. Robyn's fingers shook against the stair rail as she stood motionless in the hallway. Her tear-stained cheeks bore a shame she didn't comprehend, or perhaps didn't wish to. Kody stormed in the kitchen, slamming drawers as if looking for a means to repair what already lay in pieces. It was too late. The peacemaker, his eldest, was lost. The son he once boasted about for never causing trouble had finally grown out of the illusion. "Are you content now?" Robyn shouted from the hallway, her tone biting but wavering. "You pushed him too far." Again, Kody spun around slowly. "Don't even begin with me, Robyn. He made his own choice. He's not a kid anymore." Robyn moved closer, eyes glistening. "And oh, he's a man. One you never really listened to." That statement hung in the air like smoke from a fire just starting to spread. Aurora sat on her floor, knees hugged to her chest. The crumpled letter she'd never delivered to Logan before her. Her chest hurt. She could still hear his footsteps, still recall the smell of his cologne, and she hadn't even gotten to say goodbye. She'd gone stiff. Like always, when things started feeling real. And now it was too late. In another room, Dayton sat at his desk, his game paused, headphones removed. He gazed blankly. Logan had always shown him respect, never condescended to him. And now, that was gone too. From her small casita, Meri clasped her teacup in shaky fingers. She'd heard the car drive off, felt the change in the atmosphere. She grieved Logan's departure. But more than that, she recognized the signs. The kids weren't merely leaving the residence. They were leaving emotionally, spiritually, permanently, and Kody still couldn't perceive it. Coyote Pass. Christine's phone vibrated. The message was brief. He left. Her heart plummeted. She didn't require explanation. She knew who. Logan had done something the rest of them had only ever fantasized about doing. He'd escaped, emancipated himself from the grip of Kody's control. Good for him, she muttered to herself, gazing out across the landscape that once promised their future. But this is only the start, because Logan's departure had awakened something toxic. Behind the scenes, producers rushed. The cameras had captured the tension. This was no longer reality TV. IT was collapse, a real-time implosion. And in the middle of it all, Kody Brown seething. Alone. Fracturing point 3 days passed. A bitter stillness shrouded the Brown family like ice on a glass surface. The quiet wasn't serene. IT was charged. IT was oppressive. And it was counting down. Everyone sensed it, although no one was brave enough to voice it. Robyn paced the kitchen floor in her socks, with sunken eyes from sleepless nights. She held her phone in a clenched fist, still holding out hope for a call or message from Logan. But there was nothing. Aurora did not say much either. She wandered around the house like a shadow of her former self, her spunk taken away. Over and over, she replayed Logan's last night. The crash of drawers, the thud of his footsteps down the hall, and the letter she never delivered. IT seared in her mind like a secret too perilous to put into words. Kody, however, pretended nothing had occurred. He spent his days with activities, calls, cleaning, braggadocio about tidying the garage or repainting the living room, but his eyes betrayed him. He couldn't even bring himself to glance at Logan's vacant chair in the dining room. He steered clear of the hall leading to Logan's vacant bedroom. His pride wouldn't permit him to acknowledge it, but his firstborn son's departure had left an empty space within him that no one could fill. That night, Christine phoned Janelle. "Did you hear from Logan?" She asked quietly, voice tentative. "Yeah," Janelle replied, cautious. "He texted me. Told me he needed space. Told me he was done." Christine sighed. "It's not space. He's not returning." A heavy silence moved across the line. Then Janelle spoke, harder than she'd intended. What did Kody expect? The words lingered there. They'd remained unsaid for years, until now. Across town, Logan sat cross-legged on the floor of his tiny apartment. Boxes were arranged around him, still taped up. The space was small, one bedroom and a thin kitchen that served as a hallway. But it was his N.O. secret cameras, N.O. manufactured smiles, N.O. empty scriptures masquerading as fatherly wisdom. Only silence. Only him. He blankly gazed at a white wall. Deep within, he sensed the burn of tears welling, but nothing emerged. The well had run dry. Instead, he picked up his laptop and opened an unsent email, one he'd written to Kody months before. The subject line remained, "Things you never heard me say." His finger was poised over the send button. IT trembled a little, but he didn't send it. Not yet, because this wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. Back in town, Robyn was starting to come apart. The master bedroom was dark and vacant when she drifted in, holding a throw pillow to her chest like it could anchor her. She cried quietly at first, then it mounted, raw, in drawn sobs that came from somewhere deep inside. She wasn't just grieving Logan. She was grieving the gradual breakdown, the quiet creeping in, of reality like termites into polished wood. Something was giving way, and she knew it wasn't just her marriage. IT was the illusion, the belief that love had ever actually held the family together, that their sacrifices had equalized the balance, that the children hadn't sensed the cracks, hadn't cracked under the pressure of it all. Then, her phone buzzed, a text from a number she didn't know. "You actually think Logan's the only one going?" Robyn let go of the phone. Her breath was trapped in her throat. The screen went blank, then went dark, and somewhere in the quiet that hung after, the house sighed, like it were alive. But the quiet wasn't for long. Logan's SUV disappeared over the horizon. Tension curled in the Brown home like a knife. Downstairs, the air was thick and tense. Robyn sat at the end of the sofa, her face white and mottled from crying. Her eyes stayed glued to the door, as if she waited for Logan to stride back through it. But in her mind, she could still hear the car door slam shut. Like a judgment, Kody stood with his back against the hallway wall, arms crossed, jaw clenched so tightly his temples throbbed. He said nothing. He didn't have to. The warning had been written all over him. Logan had to fight him again. And this time, in front of everyone. He's just a boy, Robyn whispered. Kody laughed, cold and bitter. He's a man. And he made his choice, I in the background. A deafening slam echoed through the walls. Dayton had slammed his door. Hard. To him, Logan had been more than a brother, and now, he was gone. Gone without goodbye, without explanations, only an empty space full of betrayal, confusion, and sorrow. Did I in the kitchen? Meri hovered by the fridge, quietly filling a glass with water. She wasn't thirsty. She simply needed something, to anything, to keep her hands occupied. Her gaze was far away, unseeing. She'd witnessed it all before in the hallway. Logan's peaceful denial, Robyn's frantic crying, Kody's tearful absence. It all felt too familiar, and it was scaring her. Upstairs, Aurora finally yanked open her desk drawer. Her hand shook as she pulled out the wadded-up letter she'd written the previous night. It wasn't long, but it was a gut-buster, and as she read the words again, her tears at last began to fall. Please don't leave. You're the only one who listens. The only one who doesn't pretend. When you're gone, no one will be left who really sees me. Aurora gripped the letter tightly in her fist and held it close to her chest. She wanted to scream, but she didn't, because in this house, screaming meant war. Somewhere else in the house, Christine had visited with the children. She sat outside with Truly, silently contemplative. She'd watched Logan's car drive off in the distance. She hadn't attempted to stop him, because Christine understood something that most people did not. That turning away was not weakness. Sometimes, it was staying alive. I hope he never looks back, she said softly. Who? Truly asked, looking up. Christine smiled quietly, someone brave. But even as Logan drove further away from the anarchy, he wasn't safe. Not yet I and the glove compartment hidden under receipts and a flashlight of emergency was a tiny voice recorder he had forgotten to turn off. It had been recording during that final incendiary conversation with Kody. It picked up everything. The yelling, the threats, and the one thing Kody said, something that, if ever made public, would blow up everything. The brown house. The front door slammed harder than Robyn meant it to. It echoed down the vacant hallway, jarring and sharp. Did I in the kitchen? The noise surprised Ariella. Did I in the den? Dayton twitched, but was silent. And no one did. Not yet. Kody stood at the window, arms folded, his face transparent in the glass. He looked at the road, where Logan had disappeared. As if being there could somehow return him, but Kody wasn't bewildered. He was angry, not at Logan, but at himself, and that was the kind of anger that hurt the most. Robyn's makeup was smeared, her eyes far away. You should have stopped him, she said at last, voice breaking not from tears, but from guilt that could no longer be kept hidden. You should have tried. Kody didn't move. He made his choice. No. Robyn snapped. We made it for him. Years ago. Upstairs, Aurora sat still on her bed. Her headphones were in place, but no music played. She stood there, gazing at her phone, flipping through pictures. Logan on his shoulders at a carnival, assisting her with homework projects, sitting patiently through Kody's speeches on loyalty to family. He'd been like a father to her, and now he was dead, shivering still. She unfolded the letter once more and let her fingers trace out the words that I wish I was as strong as you, but I'm afraid that I don't know how to walk away like you did. I don't even know if I can, but if you're reading this, know that I believe you. Everything you ever said about this house, about Dad, about what we pretend not to see. I believe you. I'm sorry you had to bear it all. Sorry you always had to be the tough one. She pushed the letter back under her pillow. The hurt was still raw, too cutting to put into words, but it was there. In each silence, in each sidelong look shared across the house. Downstairs, Kody finally stirred. He swung slowly to Robyn, his face impassive. Oh, you really blame me? Robyn gazed at him, aghast. You're asking that? After all of this, a knock boomed, shattering the moment. Both stood still. Knocks like that weren't usual, not here, not unless they were anticipated, practiced, script. Kody opened the door with slow deliberation. Christine glared, arms crossed, anger in her eyes, lips quivering, ready to explode. I'm here for my son, she announced. Kody scowled. What are you even talking about? Christine pushed past him and entered. Don't pretend like you don't know. You think Logan didn't tell me? That your oldest just up and disappeared without warning. He came to me, Kody, because you were never a possibility. Robyn remained motionless. The lines were no longer indistinct. They were outlined. Logan's missing, Robyn said softly. Christine spun around, and you should be wondering why. Not denying it's your fault. Heavy silence echoed for a long time. Kody ground his jaw. He's not your son. Fire flared in Christine's eyes. He's more mine than he's ever been yours. And so the silence came back. But this one was colder, more menacing, because the words had now been said, and no one could take them back. Did I in the bedroom? Aurora quietly loaded a small duffel bag. She had no idea where she was headed, only that it wasn't safe to remain. The storm Logan had departed didn't subside. It increased. Outside, thunder boomed across the Arizona horizon, like even the heavens were finally paying attention. Tension had Brown family on a vice-tight hold. Everyone walked on eggshells, skirting the real things they wanted to say. Kody paced not due to any concern that he would never admit to, but because Logan's absence had rattled something in him that he wasn't ready to face. Robyn sat curled up on the couch, wrapped in a blanket that faintly still smelled like Logan from his last visit. Guilt clings onto her. She had attempted to be peacemaker, attempted to keep the house intact. But in trying, she became a part of its demise. Christine, now a little removed from the domestic theatrics, observed from the periphery. Her expression was inscrutable, but this was not surprising. She always knew Logan, the reserved one with strength, would be the one whose breaking would have repercussions, and she couldn't help but wonder how many more children were quietly approaching their breaking points. Meri, sitting alone in her bedroom, gazed at an old family photograph when the smiles weren't staged for cameras. She traced her fingers over Logan's face in the picture. He'd always been aware, hard, considerate, but never really given permission to emerge. Not with Kody loitering, not with the burden loaded on his shoulders. Janelle felt it most, her heart torn between heartbreak and subdued pride. Logan was her firstborn, her anchor. She knew only too well what he bore, the weight of feelings that never belonged to him. Now her phone was vibrating with messages from admirers, distant relatives, everyone with one question on their lips. Where was Logan? Why had he withdrawn? She had no answers, only the pain of a mother seeing her child disappear from the devastation of something once called home. In the darkened light of her bedroom, upstairs, Aurora finally cracked. The letter she never wrote to Logan, drenched in tears, grasped in her hands. Why do people always leave? She whispered. It wasn't Logan's absence alone that had stung. It was the reminder. In this house, love was tied with strings, and survival equaled silence. Dayton did his best to keep it together, tried to remain sane, but even he could feel the hysteria simmering beneath. This was not merely about Logan's departure. It was the first domino. Within the next few weeks, the pressure finally reached boiling point. Brawls broke out. Kody unleashed his anger against Janelle because she had egged Logan into leaving, for poisoning their kids with bitterness. Janelle lashed back, quivering voice. He left because you never heard. He left because it was always all about you. Robyn attempted to speak up, but her words carried little weight now. The power she had previously commanded, based on Logan's presence, had vanished with his exit, and without him, the cracks turned to canyons. Outside of those walls, Logan's new life began in silence. He wasn't completely free yet, but he was unencumbered. In his tiny downtown apartment, walls boxed off and still sealed. He sat in silence. But this silence wasn't oppressive. It was his. He opened his phone, looking at unread texts from his brothers, some angry, some perplexed, some silently supportive. He didn't respond. Not yet, because Logan knew something they didn't. His departure was only the start, the lightning bolt which foretold a storm much larger than himself. And the Brown family, they stood in its direct path, uncovered. Days went by, and the tension in the house did not dissipate. It grew. Gossip turned into whispers. The loud walls of once boisterous times now witnessed in silence decay. Kody grew more unpredictable, more domineering. During family dinners, now formal and forced, he made barbs in the guise of teachable moments. Let's just hope the rest of us learn from Logan's poor decisions, he'd said one night, and Owen glanced in his direction. He wasn't seeking harmony. He was fighting for control, and control was fading fast. Meri, folding away old memories, had an epiphany to Logan's, leaving open something inside her, a window she'd kept shut for far too long. She wasn't ready to go quite yet, but perhaps, just perhaps, she might. Logan rebuilt patiently, without press, without spectacle. Christine and Janelle began reconnecting as well, getting together frequently, not to gossip, but to construct something anew. They talked about the future, not Kody, not the show, but peace. Logan lit the match. Christine breathed over coffee, and we needed the fire, Janelle nodded. He bore too much for too long. It wasn't fair, and Robyn's corner of the house. Things were grim. She attempted to drag Aurora and Dayton along, but they were floating away too. Aurora completely stopped attending dinner. Dayton barricaded his door. Robyn called Logan repeatedly. All calls went to voicemail. She left tearful messages, apologies, admissions, pleas. None were returned. Every evening, she wept in a locked bathroom, muffling her sobs so Kody couldn't hear. She knew, deep in her heart, she knew he blamed her, and perhaps she blamed him too. At the same time, Logan was evolving. His existence in the small apartment went on peacefully. Meals were simple, walks were long. Reading was done in silence. He wasn't content, but he was permitted to determine what that was, for himself. Quiet, for the first time, was a solace. He began to write. Nothing elaborate. Just diary entries, childhood recollections, the pressure, the ways he had to mold himself to maintain the illusion. And the more he wrote, the more he recalled. The more he recalled, the clearer he knew. He owed nobody an explanation. He had already given too much. Then, once in the evening, there was a knock at the door. It was Gwendolyn, backpack slung over one shoulder, eyes weary but resolute. "I can't stay there anymore," she said, simply. Logan moved aside without hesitation. And oh speeches, and oh judgment. Only understanding point one by one, the older children were drifting away, not just physically, but emotionally leaving. Behind the narrative, the framework, the performance, what had seemed to be unity was disintegrating. But not every destruction is evil. Sometimes you need to burn the myth to show the truth. And for Logan, the truth started the day he walked out that door. The storm didn't end there. That's when it really started. This family's downfall is far from over. Smash that like button if you're #TeamWives. Subscribe for the next bombshell revelation and hit the comments. Who's walking away next? Who's still faking it? Stay curious. Stay shady. And until the next scandal, reality recap. Wives out.